Can you hear me?
Yeah, I had to take off my Bluetooth because I had that on.
Okay, let me turn my volume up. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good. You know, I have on my green to match your hair today. I wanted to
It's cute.
coordinate a little bit.
I love it.
Thank you so much for coming on. This
Thanks
is
for having
honestly
me.
amazing. Like, everything that you embody is just what we're trying to incorporate in the page so much more. So thank you so much.
I appreciate you having me.
So I'm going to jump right into the questions so we can get it started because I know people are anxious.
Sure.
So I know that you played college basketball at University of Hawaii at Hilo. What age did you start playing basketball?
I started playing in first grade. So my dad obviously wanted like a little boy, and I clearly wasn't that. But he was like, you're going to play sports. And so it was like instilled in me from like, I guess, like since I was little. But yeah, I started playing in first grade. I started playing like on a team in, I think I was in like third grade. And then ever since then, it was just a wrap.
Awesome. So did you play any other sports other than basketball, or basketball was like your one love?
I played volleyball and I swam, which people probably wouldn't think of like me as like a swimmer, but I swam, which I actually loved. I did that like all up until high school. I did that in the summer, and I snowboard. But when I got to high school, it was like, I think swimming and volleyball was like the same season.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I have to choose one or the other. And I was like, I really don't, it sounds so bad, but I was like, I don't think I'll really be that cute in high school swimming with like a swim cap on. So I was like, I'm gonna choose volleyball. Volleyball. And then obviously volleyball and basketball are two different seasons, so that worked out.
Awesome. So I know, and I'm sure some of your followers know, your OG supporters know that you were a ball girl for the Seattle Storm. So when did you get that opportunity, and how did you get that opportunity?
So my freshman year, my mom was like, you need to get a job. I don't care what it is, but you need to get a job. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, what can I do that's like still involved with basketball, but still fun? And it was like, I remember I was like an honorary ball kid during one of the Sonic games. And I was like, damn, this is like really fun. Like, I get to be around basketball. I'm like, I would get paid to rebound, to be around, you know, like some of my idols. And so after I did like the honorary ball kid thing, I was like, I'm going to reach out to somebody at the Seattle Storm, because obviously like NBA games, they just conflicted with my like basketball schedule, and the Storm season is during the summer, and they play like maybe like once or twice a week. And so I reached out. I just found an email on the website. I emailed them and I was like, hey, I'm interested in being a ball girl. Like, how can we make this possible? I got an email back and they were like, hey, we'd love to have you come into one of our practices, you know, basically like show us that you can rebound and like pass efficiently. So I went into one of the practices like after, and I rebounded. I passed a couple times and they were like, okay, cool. Like, you know, ask a couple questions, and then I got the job.
Awesome. So what age did that start? Was it high school? Was it?
That was my freshman year in high school. Yeah.
And you did that for how long?
I did that the entire time I was in high school, and then I did it the entire time I was in college as well.
Wow.
So yeah, because it was like during the summer, like the seasons during the summer, as soon as I got done with college ball, I would just come back during the summer and I'd do that.
Was it hard to juggle that, or was it easy? I mean, obviously the seasons, like you said, are like, they don't coincide. So was it easy to juggle being a ball girl and being a collegiate athlete?
Yeah, I mean, because you only, as a ball girl, you only work the games. So essentially it was, I think the games like Tuesdays, they'd have some Friday games, some, you know, it really just varied. But it wasn't conflicting because I was like back here in Seattle training for the summer. So.
Perfect. So how important would you say networking is to work for a corporation like the WNBA?
I think networking is just important in general, with anything, but especially being able to have worked like as like an employee for the WNBA, essentially like obviously the Seattle Storm, but then being able to come back now and be an entrepreneur and do like my freelance stuff. Networking was like the key for me, and that's like the kind of like the thing that I always try to like stress when I'm like giving advice to people is like, make sure you network, make sure you create relationships, make sure you create, you know, valuable relationships, because essentially it's not so much not what you know, but who you know. And so I kept those relationships with the people that I met while working for the Seattle Storm, and those relationships brought me back to work for like the WNBA as like a freelance artist. Once I like was like, okay, I'm doing influencer stuff full time. I was able to tap back in with those relationships that I had made, and those relationships helped me get to where I am today.
That makes so much sense. So what advice would you, looking back now, you know, hindsight's 2020, what advice would you give to your younger self, or just any girl who loves sports but doesn't really know what she's going to do after college, but just knows that she loves sports? So what advice would you give to that girl?
I would just say dab in a bunch of different things. I dabbed obviously like working. Okay, so basically when I left college, I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. Like I graduated and I was like, you know, what next? Like I was in that kind of position, like what am I gonna do next? So I was blessed with the opportunity that the position opened up of the equipment manager and video coordinator, which is the boss of the ball kids. That position opened up and they were like, hey, like it was like perfect timing, honestly. It was like I graduated, the job opened up, and then they asked me to interview for it. So I interviewed for it. I ended up getting the position. I did not go to school for it. So it was something that was like, you know, kind of like out of my realm, but it was like, okay, it's with sports, it's in the WNBA. Like, why not get my foot in the door, get that experience? If I don't like it, I can leave and, you know, at least have that under my belt or be able to put on my resume. And so my advice would be, you know, if you're unsure with what to do, but you want to be in sports, kind of take all the opportunities you can. I would say that, like, I feel like I lacked an experience because of sports. I really didn't get the opportunity to do like internships and stuff like a lot of other people that work in sports. A lot of the people have been doing internships since like high school and college and things like that. So wherever you can pick up experience, whether it be like not in a sport that you're interested in or not something that you really want to do, all that experience essentially is going to help you in the end. Like the girl that I knew that worked in PR that kind of put me back in the position with the WNBA, she worked in like hockey and baseball and then came back to basketball. So I don't want people to be like shied away from working in other sports and things like that. So my advice is just to take all the experience you can get because it's just going to help you in the end.
That makes so much sense. So how did you transition from working with the WNBA to working with the NBA?
So obviously like the NBA and the WNBA are like under the same umbrella. And so once you kind of start doing stuff with the NBA or the WNBA, either vice versa, because I know like my friend Brittany Elena, she did more stuff with like the NBA and then kind of transitioned in the WNBA, and I was like kind of opposite. I started more with like the WNBA and then kind of moved over to the NBA. So, I mean, once you're kind of in that basketball world and you're kind of doing all that,
definitely
stuff starts to roll in.
Nice. So, what is the biggest lesson that you learned working for a large corporation like the NBA? Do you have any advice or any obstacle that you had to overcome?
Yeah. So because I've experienced both sides of it, as like working as like a sole employee of the WNBA, like as a manager, video coordinator, and then now doing freelance, it's completely different, right? And it was like when I worked for the WNBA as like an employee, I had to kind of walk on eggshells because I was essentially part of like a corporation, you know? So it was like making sure that I was, you know, I was essentially a representation. It was not, I was a representation of myself and then the storm. It was like I was a representation of the storm and then I came after that. Whereas now it's like I'm me and that's why they're bringing me in. And so it was two different things. And so the obstacle I kind of had to overcome was like, because I had my social media platform, but social media wasn't like as big as it was back in the day, was that I kind of had to like put it on the back burner essentially. And so it was like, how do I still keep my platform, but still be a great representation of the storm and, you know, the WNBA without it conflicting. So that was like kind of like an obstacle I had to overcome. And then I ended up doing the equipment manager, video coordinator for like 4 years. And then I left and went to corporate America. I worked in marketing at Nordstrom for 4 years. And then that's when I was just like, last year in March, I was like, okay, I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to go full-time influencer.
That makes so much sense. So now backtracking, what was your major in college? What did you think that you were going to be straight out the gate?
So I always told myself that I was going to be, or I wanted to be like a sports like analyst, like a sports broadcaster. However, when I was in Hawaii, I'm not going to lie, I was over it. I was like, I want to go back home. I want to get out of here as soon as possible. So I was like, what major could I go into? And I'm not giving this advice to anybody. I'm just being very, very honest and very transparent about. I was like, I'm trying to get out of here as soon as possible. I'm just going to graduate with a degree in communications because it was the quickest thing to get like in and out like in 4 years. So I ended up having a degree in communications. But I felt like it was such a broad major that I was like, I still can do, you know, if I wanted to essentially do like anything in sports or like media related, like I could still do that with that degree. Honestly, my major, this sounds really wild and it goes back to what I say when it's like, it's not what you know, but who you know. I really haven't used my major or like that to get me where I am now. Obviously it's helped like having like a 4-year degree and like working at Nordstrom and marketing, things like that. That helped. But like where I am now, like essentially like my degree to get me there. And I'm not saying like shy away from like don't get your degree or anything like that, but I'm just saying like, you know what I mean? Like there's other things that factor into, you know.
Definitely. So you worked at Nordstrom's. When did you know, like you said last year, what moment was it that you knew, okay, this is over. I'm just going to be a social media influencer full time. I can do this. What was that pivoting moment for you?
I was like working essentially like a 9-to-5 job. I mean, it was a salary position, so it wasn't like necessarily like, okay, clock in at 9, leave at 5. You know what I mean? But the thing that changed it for me was like, okay, I'm not necessarily happy sitting in an office, like looking at gray walls. Like I loved my job, but I was like, I just feel like this is not where I'm supposed to be. And so it was like, I was very, very, very scared because it was like, I have a mortgage to pay, I have a car note to pay, like I have bills to pay, I need insurance, you know what I mean? Like as an adult, you have to factor in those things. And so it was like, okay, am I being smart about this? And then it was just kind of like, I'm kind of doing the bare minimum right now with social media. Imagine if I like actually went like and produced like some like really good content, like what could I do with my platform? And so it was like, I'm just going to take a chance. I'm going to go for it. If it doesn't work, then I can go back and I can get a job, you know, somewhere else. I do have a degree. And so, yeah, it was like I said, if I fail, like I'll just go back and get a job.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah, that makes sense. So what would you say to someone who's almost on the edge, wants to take that risk, but doesn't really, you know, like they're a little scared? How important do you think it is to take risks and ultimately follow your dreams?
I think it's huge. You don't know you're going to fail at something essentially until you do it. And it's not even guaranteed that you're going to fail. You might succeed. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a 50-50 chance. And so the only thing that I think, I mean, not the only thing, but I feel like what you gain from like a failure is just so much experience and what to do differently the next time. So it's like, I failed plenty of times, you know what I mean? And I'm still failing at things. But that's only, you know, helping me in the long run to know like what I need to change, what I need to do, you know, and things like that. So it's like, I'm not afraid to fail. I know it's a really scary thing essentially. And especially when you have a lot of things on the line, like bills or, you know, some people have kids and things like that. But I mean, you never know until you do it. So.
That makes so much sense. So what advice would you give to the young girl who wants to be a social media influencer, has the following, but just doesn't know where to start?
I would say try to partner with other people who are doing what you want to do.
Got it.
So it's like, even if you don't know them personally, reach out to them. You know what I mean? Like DM them, email them, try to partner with as many people that are doing like things as you, and see how you guys essentially could potentially produce content. There's just so many different ways to essentially create a platform, and I feel like there's so many opportunities out there, and there's so many girls that are afraid to do it or they're not sure what to do. But I always love giving advice to girls about, you know, if they have the courage to reach out to me, like I respect that. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And I like working with like partners, like I said, like a Brittany, you know what I mean? I've worked with like a couple girls that do stuff like with the Globetrotters and things like that. Just working with people that are like in that same essentially profession or what you want to do.
Awesome. So how do you find that niche? How do you find that target audience? Like the one thing that kind of sets you apart, because ultimately, there's so many beautiful girls and there's so
Yeah.
many girls with tons of followers, but how do you make yourself stand out of the crowd?
For me, it's always just been about like being myself. It's just like staying true to who I am and the content that I want to produce. Obviously, everybody's not going to buy into it, or not everybody is going to want to follow you, and that's fine. But it's like, I feel like as long as you stay true to like, whatever you're interested in, whatever you want to do, and it's very genuine, I feel like that's where you get your like loyal following, and you actually like gain an audience essentially. So yeah.
I'm learning a lot, okay? Because no, this is great. But what do you think is the number one skill that you transferred from being a basketball player, playing on a team, being in college, to your professional life?
One, it would be like working at like with a team. Like you're constantly like, although like as an influencer we're doing a lot of stuff by ourselves, you are constantly having to work with so many others. When I say others, it's like businesses, and you're working with different corporations, and every business wants different things, and you're dealing with different personalities in each business, and you know what I mean? So that, and being able to work with different people, like, you know what I mean? Like obviously on the court, you're dealing with different personalities. At practice, you're dealing with different personalities. Like all the different teams you're playing on, like I've never played on a team where I play with somebody I'm like, oh, she's exactly like me. Like we're all different. And so being able to work like that in a team and, work under pressure, I've translated really everything I've learned from basketball to like real life and professional life. But it's like, one thing is like working under pressure, working with teammates, working with others that have different personalities than you, and being able, like, adapt is like a huge word for me. Like being able to adapt to any situation, that's been like the biggest thing for me, and I really learned that from basketball.
So what would you accredit most of your success to? Did you have a mentor? I know you mentioned reaching out to people. Were there people that you specifically reached out to?
I kind of got in the game. I don't want to say like I'm a pioneer or anything like that, but I kind of got in the social media game a long time ago. But I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that like I had a mentor, but there was definitely people that helped me along the way. And then, I keep going back to like somebody like Brittany, but I feel like we kind of came up in together. We obviously are in the same world, but we do two different kind of things. But just kind of watching her move is very inspirational. You know what I mean? Like other women in the game, just watching them and what they do and how they carry themselves has been kind of like indirect mentorship. You know what I mean? But I always talk to people all the time. A lot of people here in Seattle don't necessarily understand the whole like influencer world. So it's not really like a thing like I talk about like amongst like, people at home, but definitely like when I'm out at events and things like that, I'm always looking like for advice on, how I can elevate myself essentially.
Definitely. So I saw a video that you posted, like you just mentioned, you're from Seattle, and there's not many people who do what you do. Do you get stopped often by fans that just come up to you and like, hey, I follow you, I love your content? Do you get that often, honestly?
Surprisingly, I do, and it's crazy because I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm just like a regular person walking on the street, But I love it. I really like when people come up to me and acknowledge that they follow me. That means a lot to me, and I know it takes a lot of like courage for people to do that, because I probably wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? Just because it's like, you never know how somebody's gonna react, and I understand that it's it's scary to approach like a stranger. But I'd rather somebody come up to me and say hi to me rather than DM me later and be like, oh, I seen you on the street or whatever. I mean, like, I get it, like, not all the time, like, people can speak. But, it's still, it never will probably be normal.
That's because you're ultimately famous. I'm just going to tell you you're famous. But what would you say is your number one motivation to just keep inspiring young girls, guys? I don't just want to, put a specific gender, because I honestly feel like your brand is transcendent. You know what I mean? It touches so many people. But what's your number one motivation?
Honestly, it's like my family, right? But I really do appreciate all the support that I get. So it's like, inspiring others. Like, I never would I have imagined growing up me being like, oh, I'm going to be an influencer on social media, taking pictures and working with the NBA and the WNBA. Like, I would have never, ever imagined that. But it's like, it's so within reach for so many people. And people often feel like there can only be like one person to do it or like a couple people to do it. But there's so many people that are in the industry, and there's so many different things that people can be doing under, like, you know, with basketball or sports, or, you know, not even just limited to basketball, but whatever sport it is. But it's just continuing really just to inspire others, for them to feel like whatever they want to do, that it's like, not to sound corny or cliche, but they essentially, they can do it. It's within reach. It's just about taking that chance.
Wow.
And that's the scariest part, is like taking that chance, like we talked about.
Definitely. So how would you describe your working style personally?
When it comes to like what, social media?
Yeah, just social media influencing for sure. How would you describe it? Do you say it's like more of like a strict schedule, or is it just like as you feel, or what would you say?
So it depends. I mean, I do a lot of like sponsorship stuff with brands. And, you know, depending on stuff, it's like, you know, you have timelines to deal with and things like that. So every day is different as like a entrepreneur influencer. Like, I mean, I kind of have like a routine. It's like I wake up, I work out, and then, you know, when I work out, it's like, then I get that out of the way. So then it's like, okay, I have the rest of the day to either produce content or, you know what I mean, like whatever I have to do that day. And like I said, every day is different, because sometimes like I'll be really busy with content, and other days like I won't have anything to do. So but I mean, I have other projects that I work on. Like, I have like a collab line with Marshawn Lynch and Beast Mode that we just launched. I just Aaron. So when I'm not doing like influencer stuff, I'm still doing other stuff on the side, because like the goal is to have multiple sources of income.
Wow, that makes so much sense.
And and as an entrepreneur and influencer, I feel like you have to make sure that you have multiple streams of income coming in. So a lot of people think like, oh, okay, like Instagram pays your bills. Like, no, like, yes, obviously Instagram is a platform to pay my bills, but it's like making sure there's other streams of income is always very important.
That makes so much sense. I think oftentimes many people forget how much work you put in to continue this, and to give people the content, and to continue to get people to like you. So I've been following you, and I see how, you know, you're taking this quarantine situation. Obviously, it's a hard time for everyone, you know, being stuck inside, not being able to go out. But do you have like a day-to-day mantra, or just a way that you continue to stay level-headed throughout this?
Working out. I've been blessed that my building still has our gym open. So I've been able to like work out at the gym. Like, the gym has been so therapeutic to me. It's been actually really nice here in Seattle, so I've been trying to get outside and like work out on the field when it's not raining. But I do like a lot of, like, I've started tapping into like meditation stuff and like breathing exercises and things like that. And, you know, I try to not watch TV as much as, you know, I've been watching the MJ documentary, but it's really hard for me to binge watch TV shows. So I've been trying to, like, you know, read. Just, I know everyone's like, stay inside, stay inside, stay inside. I'm like, I'm not kicking it with my friends, but I have been outside, you know, like working out at the fields.
Nice. So you touched on the fact that you got to interview Kobe, and I actually saw your post, but she muted it. Okay. And I was trying to read your lips. I was like, what was being said? Like, I need to know. So can you just give us the story behind that and how that interaction was?
So it was kind of funny. It was like, so it was Sunday. It was the day of the game, and we had just got to the gym, and they were like, yo, Kobe's here. Like, we're about to get an interview with him. And at that time, my job at that time, or for All-Star Weekend, was to get like kicks content. So under WNBA kicks. So I was interviewing all the girls about like what they were going to wear during the game, like what was their favorite pair of sneakers, like, you know, how did they choose sneakers? Like, those were kind of like the questions I was asking everybody. I was kind of asking everyone like the same, like 6 questions for WNBA kicks. And then that Sunday came, Kobe was there with his daughter Gigi, and they were like, yo, we're going to go in there. He's sitting courtside. And this is before the game, so everyone's like warming up. And they were like, you have 2 questions you get to ask him. We're going to get in and we're going to get out because we don't want to bother him. And I was like, okay. Like, I had no time to think about it. Like,
Yeah.
and so they were like, all right, like, we're going to go in. Like, are you ready? They're like, do you know what you're going to ask him? And I'm like, I guess. Like, I have no time to prepare. Like, I wasn't expecting, like, to interview him. But honestly, like I said, I had no time to think about it. So I was basically, I think I asked him, like, what you have on your feet today? Because that was, like, kind of the question I was asking everybody. It was, like, what you got on today? And it was, like, I asked him who he was excited to watch, obviously play in the All-Star game. And I think that was, like, maybe the two questions I asked him.
Nice.
But he went into depth with the questions. And so, you know, being like a Kobe fan and just like watching him from afar, like, you know, you don't know what to expect. And like, I know the people that I was working with, like, I wonder how he's going to be. Like, I wonder if he's going to be like kind of standoffish or, you know, not really want to do the interview. But he was so welcoming. He was so sweet. Obviously, Gigi was right there. I actually met her in the bathroom unintentionally. But yeah, no, he was super nice, super humble. And I was blessed to have that opportunity.
That's super awesome.
Yeah.
So do you believe that Kobe's passing will ignite more support for women's sports in general? You know, just seeing him be such an awesome fan for the WNBA and just women's sports in general. And do you think a lot of men will follow in his lead?
I hope so. Definitely. I don't know. I do feel like yes, I do feel like he was like a pioneer for like being an advocate for like women's basketball.
Definitely.
I really do hope that, you know, I mean, I do feel like, yes, I feel like, I mean, even just this season, I mean, they talked numbers with like, you know, the change of like the fans that were coming to like the Oregon women's games and things like that, how they were like selling out arenas and things like that. I absolutely do think that it's going to help, but I still think that obviously there's going to be people who are still trying to buy into like women's sports. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But definitely, I think he put women's sports on the map, and I think that it really showed that if somebody of his caliber, you know, is supporting women's basketball the way he was, there should be no reason why others aren't. And so, absolutely, I do think that it will help. And we've already seen it kind of take into effect, but I definitely think that obviously it's still going to be a push that now that, you know, he has passed, it's going to take players like, you know, like other big players like LeBron's and, you know, like Dwayne Wade's and other people that people look up to support the game for others to continue to buy in.
That makes so much sense. So here's the number one question that I know so many people want to know the answer to, especially on this page. What do you think it means to be a beautiful baller?
I think it means to be somebody who is beautiful inside and out. Not so much just like physical appearance and things like that, but I feel like beauty, I don't mean to sound so cliche, but I really do feel like beauty comes within, and it's like it radiates, and it's like energy and things like that. And you know, obviously being like an athlete, I feel like, and being able to be an athlete but also be like a woman, I feel like is so important. You know what I mean? Like, you learn so much from being an athlete. You learn so much from, you know, playing sports. You know what I mean? Even if it's not something that you're going to do professionally or do, you know, later in life, like I learned so much just from playing sports. So I feel like a beautiful baller is just somebody that embodies, you know, what it really means to be a woman on and off the court.
Wow. That was really deep. that was a great answer right there. That was great. So what is an accomplishment that you're most proud of?
I don't know if it's necessarily an accomplishment, but I was very, very, very scared to jump into entrepreneurship. And so for me, overcoming that fear is an accomplishment for me, because I was more of that person that was like, I need like stability, and I need a job that's going to pay me every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? That I know that money is coming in. And with influencer stuff, like, your income fluctuates. And so that is very scary when you have things like, you know, a mortgage and car note and bills to pay. So for me, overcoming the fear of potentially failing was an accomplishment for me.
So what's something that you can't go a day without doing?
Working out. Or doing something of like
exercise.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
whether it's like doing some ab workouts or like walking around the block, like I have to do something, like something active.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if I was to ask one of your best friends to describe you in 5 words, just 5 words, what do you think they would say about you?
Goofy.
Okay.
I know I don't really like, so like on my social media, I don't like necessarily like talk a lot. I don't go live a lot. Like I don't post like a lot of videos, but like outside of social media, I'm very goofy. Like
yeah.
Like almost probably people probably say I'm annoying too because I play around a lot. Like and I'm always that person that's like on Snapchat like getting people's like doing filters on people when they're not paying attention, and my friends literally hate that because I forget that I have such a huge platform, and to somebody who doesn't like do social media stuff, being like put on a platform where there's like 300,000 people to see them like looking stupid, like my friends don't really like that. So goofy, I would say loyal. A good friend, because I really do think I'm a good friend. Pure-hearted and a hard worker.
Nice. So if a genie was to grant you 3 wishes, what would they be and why?
A genie, okay. Not that money like is everything, but like that I would be like financially stable. Okay. When I say that, I mean like I want to be like financially stable enough to like retire my parents and things like that.
Yeah.
The ability to sing, because I cannot sing and I would love to be able to sing.
Okay.
And 3 would be that I would find my true love and I would have a happy family.
Nice. So are you single? Because I've been seeing the comments sift through, are you single? Are you single? Are you single right now?
I am single.
Nice. I'm single too. It gives people the time to just, think, especially in this quarantine. You can't stress that enough.
I feel like guys follow beautiful ballers to like potentially like look for a potential like girlfriend or wife.
Yeah, I think you're onto something with that. So I know that we've had a lot of time at home, and so many people are, trying to come out of this quarantine with like 50 different hustles. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's one skill that you wish you had, or you're just trying to, gain while we're in this quarantine?
Video editing. I suck at it. That's why I don't produce a lot of content, like video-wise, because I don't have the patience to edit videos. And there are people obviously that do video editing, but like for somebody that like me who's so OCD and anal, like I feel like once I got the edit back, I would still be trying to make 17 changes. I don't want to waste somebody else's time. And so if I could come out of this, it would definitely be that I like could learn how to edit videos efficiently.
Yeah. Got it. So what do you think makes you feel most accomplished?
Seeing others believe in me.
Wow.
And like my story and potentially want to do what I do. Like that to me is like, okay, like I am doing something right. Yeah. That there's people that want to like follow my footsteps.
Definitely.
And so that for me is like, and just people, honestly, like it sounds really corny, but it's like, I really do try to read through every message that I get. A lot of them do get blocked and denied, but I really do try to respond to most females. That's obviously I'm not going to respond to probably like an emoji or something like that, but if they're like asking me a question or they're complimenting me or they're saying something, like, oh, like I really look up to you, or like you helped me get through like a really good time or a really hard time, like I try to really respond to those, because the fact that they took the time out to respond to me, I try to take also time to respond to them.
Wow, that's beautiful. And I feel like somebody with your platform, that's just awesome to hear that. I know it gives a lot of females in here more confidence, to reach out to someone that they look up to. So what is next for you, Kayce? I know that you mentioned, the launch of Beast Mode and how that was supposed to happen, but do you have any plans for the future or after this quarantine?
So my goal is to produce more like video content and really utilize my networks and the people that I know,
Nice.
but do something that is like I want to do, like my own content under my own page and stuff like that. I would love to create like some type of like series that involve like people in sports and sneakers, and I know there are a bunch of like shows that like have athletes on it and they talk sneakers, but it's like, what can I, and that's what I'm still trying to figure out. I was like, what could I do to have a show that made it different from all the rest of them, but still where I was like talking about things that I want to talk about. So like that's fashion and sports, and you know, me being a girl in the game, I feel like that's already like, you know, a step up on things. Definitely. But it's really just trying to find a lane that hasn't been created yet, or find, you know, even if there is a lane that's created, like what can I bring to that lane to make it different? Yeah.
That's awesome. So as we come to the end of this amazing interview, is there anything else that you want us to know about you?
I think I pretty much told it all. I guess maybe if anything, I would just, my advice would be just to continue, or for others, is just continue to network. And people might not remember you, but they will always remember essentially how you treated them. And so when I say that, it's like when you first meet people, that first conversation, that handshake, that, you know, interaction that you have with people, because it's really my relationships that got me to where I am today. Yeah. And so, that's kind of really, not so much of what I want people to know about me, but, you know, the advice that I can give to people is just continue to network, continue to build relationships, and don't be afraid to fail. Wow. Those are really great. So as we come to the end of this interview, I just want to thank you so much again. I know I've thanked you like 1,000 times. Thanking you. But honestly, thank you for sharing your journey, your story, and just diving deep, because I know so many people are inspired. I definitely am. So thank you for taking your time out of your busy day, because I'm sure you're a busy girl. Thank you. And just coming on here. It really means a lot. And I know so many young girls do look up to you, and just hearing more about your story will give them more confidence to follow their dreams. So I hope so. That's really what I want the takeaway. I know, not make it about me, but it's giving me more confidence. So listen, let me tell you, I'm sure it's giving everybody more confidence. Thank you. Yeah, no, I really don't want this to be like about me. I really just want it to be like that. It is like these things are possible. They are within reach. So that is so great to hear. It really is. So thank you so much for coming on, Kayce. Thank you. Everyone, make sure you follow her if you don't already, okay? And stay tuned for more live videos. Thank you so much, girl. Bye. Bye. That was great. Thank you, everyone who tuned in to Beyond Ballin with LaLa. Honestly, it was just so great hearing her amazing story. I know that so many people are inspired by her, because I certainly am. As you guys can see, I was even inspired to wear a little green shirt to match her hair today. But I hope you guys loved the live video. We're going to do these every Wednesday, okay, on Beautiful Ballers. And make sure to tune in next week. Bye.